Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Spoiler Warning with myself, Tom Colohue, with plenty of news focusing on Sami Zayn's contract, the Kevin Owens contract, the return of Triple H, when we're going to see Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda as he is now returning, and so much more as we go into it. Hollywood is calling. Who's going to pick up the phone? We'll be covering that a little bit later as well. For anyone who does not know, my name is Tom Colohue. I cover wrestling news and share exclusive news that you can't find anywhere else. One of the pieces of news I'm going to be focusing on is the future of Sami Zayn. I gave an update on that this time last week, 7 days ago. I was able to give you some information on Sami Zayn, which we will be following up on this week, because, to be blunt, suddenly Dave Meltzer says it, and everyone else is diving on top of the news like it's actually news. The news is out there, guys. Plenty of people just aren't listening. So that's the focus that I'm going to be putting in right now. Trying to make people listen to the fact that this channel right here, we spread the news. We share the facts. We get the news out there largely before anyone else. And then for some reason, and it should be a selling point really, it doesn't spread, so you gotta come here for it. Welcome everybody to the show. Welcome Captain Buzzy, says hello to everyone. Welcome Bailey, saying it's Tom time. Moxie also just shouting Tom Colohue. Welcome everyone. Connor, just gonna tone it down a little bit for saying this. Connor says, hello Tom, long time no see. Sorry I've not been here in a while. Had a death in the family, so I've been dealing with that. I'm very sorry to hear that, Connor. I was wearing a suit today for a job interview, which had a little purple tassel for my nan, so I've been through that a little bit myself. Hopefully you're okay, and if you need any help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Care about you, buddy. The user as well over on YouTube is saying, hi mate, welcome. We are dual streaming once again on Twitch and on YouTube, where you can find us both at Tom Colohue. It's all Tom Colohue. Everything I do comes under the moniker of Tom Colohue, including TikTok, where we do stuff. Our headlines today will be, pardon me, we're going to talk about the Kevin Owens new contract. We're going to give some information about complaints made backstage because nobody enjoyed working with Eva Marie. We're going to clarify when we're going to hear more news on 2K22. We're going to talk about Triple H returning to action sooner rather than later. Then we're going to go in depth on Sami Zayn's new contract being practically a formality at this point. We're going to talk about Hollywood calling for several WWE top names. The fact that at the moment at least there are no contract offers on the table for Wyndham Rotunda, otherwise known as Bray Wyatt, in the WWE. We're going to run down the day one card so far and keep you updated on that as we get closer to it. And we're going to preview tonight's WWE SmackDown, which will be the last SmackDown watch party of the channel until the new year. It will be the last SmackDown on the channel until the new year. In the meantime, I've just posted my announcement tweet on Twitter about the fact that this show is going live. Let me just grab that for you, and I'll get a link for anyone who wants to share it. You can jump in, and I'll put it on Twitch right now, and I'll put it on YouTube right now, so that anyone who wants to find it can do so. I would very much appreciate anyone who shares that, so that I can then share it immediately back. Would very much appreciate that. As we are live on both YouTube and on Twitch, please do remember that my preference, if you can only have one show open, would be to host YouTube. Twitch is mostly here because I'm already monetized on it, and I don't want to cut off anyone who doesn't have YouTube, but my focus at the moment is on YouTube. So if you can only watch one, please make it YouTube. The watch time and the likes are invaluable. Every like there makes a massive difference, and I do very much appreciate the effort that people are putting into supporting this channel with something as simple as popping into YouTube, clicking like, and then moving on. We are currently at 777 subscribers. Lucky number 7s are live on the channel, and long may it continue. Thank you everybody supporting, and a very big welcome to everyone. Moxie says, Tom, I think that the pay-per-view before Wrestlemania, we had Drew versus Brock #1 contenders match. Well, if that happens, Brock Lesnar is beating Drew McIntyre, which could keep the story going a little bit longer. Noob is here saying, hello Tom, how are you doing? I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm wearing a shirt for a reason. I don't know if I've told everybody this before, but there is definitely something I want to say, because when I first got a new job in July, I was in a very rough place, from which I am very, basically, eternally grateful to everyone here for keeping me afloat and above board. Since getting that job on a temporary agency contract, I have technically had 2 promotions, with a third being potentially happening, because I am good at what I do. I was first made full-time, they're now shifting me to a different contract for a higher salary, and I've also been shortlisted, and I had the interview today, for a contract which adds another £2,000. So another £2,000 on top of that per year, if I'm able to get this job, which I feel suits my OCD. Things are going really, really well. I don't know if I got the job, but I'm feeling very good about the interview earlier today. Very good indeed. Not only did I get to wear a suit for the first time in about 3 years, but I then went around the corner to my girlfriend and basically did a whole, hey, look at me, I'm wearing a suit and don't I look good? And I did. And I did. Christmas is coming, I've been able to afford it, and not only that, but I've received all of my payment from the Twitch sports team. It is officially over. All of the income that I could have generated from it has now been received, and with that additional income, I'll be buying a graphics card for the PC and some extra RAM to upgrade it even further. This is largely to do with tax, but also to do with the fact that I really want new stuff. Thank you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for making this happen for me. SCW, hello Steve, says, what's up buddy? Steve, I see you've got a doppelganger. That was very interesting seeing that on Twitter. The SCW Wrestling channel has a doppelganger, so if anyone wants to check out Steve's work, by all means click on his name on YouTube right now and you'll be able to subscribe there. He does fantastic videos that are great fun to watch. Connor says, don't blame me for that. Don't want to be working Christmas Eve into Christmas. I do not, and that's very much what I'm looking at the moment. I have basically decided that my schedule going forwards will be that on Monday we will host our last video of the year. And then traditionally, I don't start work again until the 9th of January. That is a Sunday, the 9th of January. There is a reason for this. When I was 19 years old, I achieved my life's ambition and became a professional writer on the 9th of January. So from the 1st to the 9th of January, I don't work. I bask, I take long baths, I drink a lot of wine, and I have a great time. The 9th is a Sunday, meaning that on the 10th, we will start back with a Raw watch party and go from there with Tom Colohue Season 2 2.0 starting with the Royal Rumble. Moxie says, are you not doing a watch party next week? Not a SmackDown one, no. I'm just doing Raw on Monday, and that is it. Hello, Connor. Finding you on YouTube as well. Nicely done. If you are currently watching on YouTube, please do remember to click that like button. I very much appreciate it. It can make a really massive difference to the show and to the channel. Also increases our viewership, helps me find new viewers, and potentially as well new subscribers. So thank you very much everyone who's currently watching on YouTube, and thank you everyone who's clicked like so far and will do after saying this. We're doing really well over there right now. Moxie says, sorry Tom for not being here for the past week. No worries Moxie, you come along whenever you want to come along. That's how this works. There is no obligation to be here. Just so everybody knows, I'm just really grateful when you are. I'm also kind of grateful when you're not, because it means you're doing things that you need to do as well and having a great life. Wolf Gaming said, I'd hop onto YouTube. I'm staying off of it because someone I know got shown No Way Home spoilers on his YouTube homepage. So I'm avoiding it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Wolf Gamer, I respect that to no end. I respect that entirely. You go right ahead. Connor says, for Football Manager. Well, Football Manager will be continuing next year. I have decided that I will be going with the new gaming side of new gaming YouTube channel to dual stream the Football Manager as well. That will be continuing. We will be having fun with that. Lauren, how are you doing? They jumped in to renew my sub. Super happy for Sami if the contract offered makes him feel secure. Whatever it takes, you know. I completely agree. I will be touching on that when I talk about the Kevin Owens contract situation, but I will be talking a lot more in depth when it comes to what's going on in an individual basis with Sami Zayn and the contract offer on the table for him. It hasn't given me an alert for the renewed subscription, but I will thank you in advance, Lauren. Thank you very much for the renewed sub. I do appreciate it, and you are always welcome here, as I hope you know. Hello, Sean. How are you? Steve says, hope you get it, mate. You deserve it. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I'm trying my hardest to convince them that I'm worth it, and I believe I am. We'll see how it goes. My cans, by the way, today are red. Somebody recommended Dr. Pepper, and I couldn't say no. What can I say? Moxie says, Tom, if you're not busy on Christmas, can you stream Christmas movies? I am busy on Christmas. I'm having 3 different Christmas dinners. 3 different Christmas dinners. I have a lot of sort of family. I'm obviously going to spend some time with the partner, but she has 2 kids, so they're going to spend time with, parents of the kids and so on and so forth. I don't want to be the focus there because I shouldn't be. They'll spend some time with her, but not too much time with her. I don't want to be overbearing. I also will be spending time with 2 parts of family, and it's probably the busiest I've ever been for Christmas. Christmas I usually spend mostly alone. And to be clear, I'm okay with that. But this year will be very busy. Welcome, Riff Thing. How you doing, mate? Moxie says, you're not streaming day one. Sean says, no day one watch party. Not this time. Not this time around, unfortunately. I will not be streaming day one. It is too close to New Year's Day, so I will just be leaving that one. I won't even be able to watch it immediately. I will be spending a few more days because I do have plans for New Year's as well. I will not be doing a watch party for day one. We will be starting again and launching 2.0 on the 9th, and then the Royal Rumble will be the official streamiversary, 1 year of streaming right there on the Royal Rumble, where we will definitely be doing a watch party. Austin Palmeter, welcome to the show, says, I'm glad KO didn't leave WWE. That's fair enough, mate. That's one of those things that I would be happy to see him wherever he goes. I would follow him, basically, wherever he ends up. I'm just glad he's happy. Steve says, thanks for the kind words, as always. Wondered your thoughts on if you feel day one is a good idea from WWE or not. I personally am a big fan of the pay-per-view idea, replacing the traditional December pay-per-view. I like the choice that they've made for it. The idea is that they are attempting to extend the WrestleMania season, so the day one will literally be day one towards WrestleMania. That's a way to try and get ratings back up by making everything relevant to WrestleMania again. However, I do like having a December pay-per-view. Day one for me, it leaves us a lot more space, but it's a bit of dead space at the moment, and the ratings are suffering because of it. I think the pay-per-view will be good. They've offered us a very good, appealing looking pay-per-view that I'm quite excited for. I just don't know how it's going to play out later on. Justin Stevens says, obvious answer is Sasha, but who else, if any, do you think will eventually do something on TV shows or movies? Well, Justin, we actually do have a news item on that. We will be covering that a little bit later. The headline on that one is Hollywood is calling for several WWE top names. I list 4 top names, and there will be more as we get into it that answer that question. So Hollywood is calling. Dominic Perez, welcome, says, hi Tom, do you know who's going to challenge Nakamura? Any Cesaro push? Thank you. Baron Corbin, I believe, is next lined up to challenge Shinsuke Nakamura, but they're really taking their time with it while he occupies Drew McIntyre. There will be something of a Cesaro push. Cesaro will essentially be jumping in to replace Jeff Hardy to work with Drew McIntyre against Corbin and the like, but it depends whether they feel that they need him or if McIntyre is best suited winning handicap matches. Typically, they will choose the option that means Drew McIntyre wins handicap matches. Connor says, Tom, you're always worth it. Don't ever doubt yourself. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate that. I live in a lot of doubt, but my last few months have been very, very, very good. Noob says, meanwhile, I'm watching some Christmas movies and episodes from so many TV shows. I am excited to be watching Muppets Christmas Carol. That is my Christmas movie of choice. I'll be watching that Christmas Day. Did Moxie said, did KO resign? Yes, he did. I can confirm that. It's been reported elsewhere, but very much that he has resigned. Sean says, did everyone see that Cora Jade roasted Darby on Twitter? She deleted the tweet, so I hope she doesn't get in trouble. She will not get in any trouble, though certain people will try to get her in trouble. However, and I'm going to be blunt here, with the amount of people in NXT UK who have accusations against them, and of course in NXT itself and the WWE itself, it's not the strongest position to be raining shit down from. Like, it was a roast and a half. I credit her for that, but she's not with a company where you can really rain on high. Ed, welcome, says, just stopping by to say hi. Just saw Spider-Man and keep my mouth shut, so I had to leave. Have a great show. Fair enough, Ed. I look forward to talking to you about it later because I will watch it tomorrow. I'm watching that one tomorrow, so I'll message you once I've finished watching it so we can have a good old natter about it. Until then. Yeah, Justin, absolutely. We will have a pardon me. We are covering that on Spoiler Warning today, so that's to look forward to. Connor says, Muppets Christmas Carol is the best Christmas film, except for Die Hard. That is a hill to die on, mate. Justin says, unpopular opinion, The Christmas Story is not a good movie. I cannot recall watching that at any point. One of my favourites is Love Actually. I think that's a great Christmas film. Moxley says, okay, Tom, who do you see winning the belt at day one? I think KO or Seth, so at Mania we get Bobby versus Seth. I do have something on this later, talking about the day one card, but I've been consistent on this one. I think Seth Rollins will be winning the belt so that Big E can potentially win the Royal Rumble, or at the very least, chase Seth Rollins going into WrestleMania. I think the WrestleMania match will be Big E versus Seth Rollins. Okay, Moxie, chill out, mate. Connor says, I always die on hills and live in cupboards. You have a very, very, very varied life. Well done me for getting that out of my mouth in the end. So just before we jump into our first piece of news, which will be on Kevin Owens, please be aware that if you are currently watching on Twitch, you can click that follow and you will get live notifications every time we go live. And if you're currently watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe and the notification bell and you will get live notifications every time we go live. Also, please be aware that you can click that thumbs up, that little like button makes a huge difference to YouTube. What YouTube want is engagement. They want people chatting. They want people hitting like. They want people subscribing. If you are engaging with the show, you are guaranteeing attention on the channel. And that is a huge, huge benefit that will see me succeed and potentially, in time, go full-time doing this. That's the dream. We'll see if it can happen. Connor says, drain English, Tom. True. Moxie says, ahead of the cherry coke, Tom Colohue. Drinking Dr. Pepper today, but yeah, cherry coke is still my thing. And Buzzy says, the fact that both Darby and Cora deleted their tweets makes me think that both were willing to step back because they eventually realised that their stances weren't the best. And I do think that's true. I think, essentially, they both pissed each other off. And Cora, for me, was in the right because hers was a defence rather than an offense, and it's just a good thing to see happen. Austin says, I don't know if it's true, are we seeing Roman and Brock at WrestleMania? It seems most likely at the moment. To be clear, and here's an exclusive for you, the WWE are still trying to get The Rock. They're trying to get The Rock so they can put him in the Royal Rumble and get him the win so that he can immediately walk into a feud with Roman. Brock is the backup, and what a backup to have. Welcome, Eleanor. Glad to see you. How are you? Hope you're well. And D. Freeman as well is here saying hey. Hey, D. Freeman, how are you? Hope everyone's good. I really do. It's coming up to Christmas. It's only 8 days away. And I really do hope everyone's having a fantastic Christmas so far. Just a fantastic time. Because why the hell not? Why the hell not? Steve, I am retweeting your quote tweet of my announcement tweet for the show. Thank you very much for sharing. I do appreciate that. We'll get into our first piece of news. Oh, okay, not quite. Fair, Connor. Eleanor says, when do you think Kyle O'Reilly will debut in AEW? Soon, but I think he'll take a little time to refresh before Red Dragon happens. The contract isn't rushed. They're not rushing the contract for him. They're taking their time. That's a good thing. Basically, he wants to have more time. He wants to have the ability to go to different promotions. He doesn't want to be locked down. so he won't be offered that much money because it'll be very limited appearances. They're taking their time hashing it out. There's no rush. KJ says, okay, I've seen the tweets. Cora Jade, her promos remind me of AJ Lee. I like Cora Jade. I like that she was willing to play injured. That was good. First piece of news is as regards Kevin Owens' contract. We don't have any particular long pieces of news today. We've got a lot of relatively short ones, with the longest being the Sami Zayn discussion that we're going to have in a little while. So if you have any questions, please do continue to jump in and let me know. I'll be trying to answer every question that comes up and just trying to stay as up to date as possible. Well, it's official. Had a little burp there. Pardon me. Well, it's official. Kevin Owens has officially signed a new deal with the WWE after a charm offensive that landed Owens just short of $3 million a year. I believe it ended at about $2.8 million. This puts Kevin Owens on a par with some of the company's highest earners, and also puts him officially in the firing line of Nick Khan should he fail to deliver at any point. I don't see that happening. This has been in the working for some time. Nobody forgot about the contract of Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has simply been holding out for a better and better offer as the days slowly ticked down closer to just being over. His contract, reaching the point where it was almost a breath away from being over, essentially ensured an offer that came in with a promise of and an active main event push and a hell of a lot of money. He's not the only one, and the main reason that he knew for certain that this would work is because it already has worked. Running your contract down is basically the new thing in WWE. The offer made to Adam Cole in the days before he officially left NXT was incredible, and Kevin Owens was fully aware of it. Using the same tactics, Kevin Owens guaranteed himself one hell of an offer and guaranteed his family's future going forwards. I applaud the choice, and I would have I would have applauded him leaving as well, as long as he felt it was best for him. And here's the thing we need to focus on. He made this choice because he believed it was best for him. And when it comes to deciding what is best for Kevin Owens, the best person for that is Kevin Owens. Because what I've seen is that this choice has apparently caused some major upset amongst, well, idiots. A lot of very dumb people are very, very annoyed that Kevin Owens isn't working for the promotion that they prefer, whichever promotion that may be. Ultimately, this is real dumb. People need to stop being annoyed because wrestlers are making choices that suit them as individuals. This is basically dumbasses being dumbasses. What can I say? Connor says, I really want to see Young Bucks versus Red Dragon. Going to be a cracker when it happens. It will definitely be happening. KJ said Kyle could show up next week. Adam told Bucks he had a surprise for them next week. Could do. That's certainly possible. As I say, he's still working out the contract at the moment, but AEW do tend to put a hat on it as much as they can. One thing, I've just seen KJ mentioning that Hardy's there. There is definitely a lot more right now behind the idea that I was talking about on Monday, that Jeff Hardy basically has been told to go to rehab, has been fired for not going to rehab, and there's no evidence at all that he actually needed rehab. If that's the case, WWE have kicked him out the door for no reason, but I digress on that one. Eleanor says, KO convinced so many that he was going to leave. Smart guy. Yeah, from what I can tell, the contract was upped immediately after he mentioned on Raw that his contract was running down, that he might not be here beyond January. Just mentioning that on Raw, off script, got him an increase in the offer. Very clever man. FNAF said, which do you prefer, AEW or WWE? Firstly, welcome FNAF, great to see you back. I would personally say I prefer WWE. However, I've not really watched enough of AEW to make a judgment on that. I've just spotted that Moxie, you hosted the show. Thank you very much for that. I apologise for the extra 4 minutes it took. But yeah, I would say I prefer WWE, but I've not seen enough of AEW to really say that. The only reason I would say it is because when I do tune into AEW, and I do it like once a month, I struggle to know what's going on because it's not geared for casual viewers. Now, that's an intentional choice, and that's a choice based on what they want to do. but it will ensure that their retention rate isn't particularly strong, which is why their viewership keeps going down until the next big shock moment. Connor says, Tom, what do you mean wrestling fans are not being understanding? That's surprising. Thank you, Get the Tables, for the host. Appreciate that. And yeah, Connor, that's a wonderful world we live in. Wrestling fans. A lot of them are dickheads. Basically, a lot of them are dickheads. Buzzy says it's so good that KO got himself that major green. Also, some wrestling fans can be super selfish sometimes. They can, they really can. 2.8 million, roughly, nothing to sniff at. That is a wonderful achievement and very well deserved from someone who has given a lot to the company. Sean says, I saw a lot of the comments about Kevin calling him names and a sellout. People are disgusting. And Get the Tables. Oh, sorry. Corey, welcome to the show and thank you very much for the host as well. For anyone watching on YouTube, those hosts are just for Twitch, but it does mean that I potentially find new viewership and new growth, and it's always very, very much appreciated. Thank you guys. Get the Table said, I love how suddenly KO is overrated since he didn't go to AEW. Yeah, you know when Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson now, looked at the wrestling fans and said, fickle, fickle, fickle. Has anything been more true? Anything. Thank you, FNAF, for the quote tweet. I will be going through them as we go across the show to advertise. Corey says, hi guys, welcome Corey. And Justin says, any truth to WWE giving hiring guarantee contracts instead of giving talent a percentage of merch, money from house show events, etc.? I've been looking into this, right? Now, when it comes to the whole hiring guarantee, this is essentially a concept which is a pre-contract, a contract that only starts when you're officially hired. It locks talent down before there's anything to lock down. Now, this is mostly used for the sports initiative that they've got going at the moment. It is a thing, but it's not a thing that's really a big deal because ultimately there is no merch to sell when it comes to these contracts. The contracts would be renegotiated when they are signed. So essentially it's a pre-contract contract. That's what I've heard so far, but I'll continue to dig for you. Moxie says Becky was speaking facts on Raw when she said the fans don't know what they want. She was. Absolutely she was. And that's the thing. Becky Lynch knows what the fans say because Drew McIntyre knows what the fans say. Becky heard people turning on her because she was a champion for too long. Wrestling fans are incredibly fickle. There is no debating that fact. None whatsoever. Our second piece of news, and as I said, there's quite a lot of news here, but it's mostly quite brief. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of news. Most of it is quite brief. Nothing's particularly huge because I'll just be recording videos for YouTube tomorrow. And this is about, and this is actually a negative one, which is rare here, I know, but I do feel the need to get rid of the clickbait and hyperbole, to just cut straight through this one and say the facts as I've heard them, because over the next few days this may come out from other people and it will be much more offensive, to be blunt. I hate to be that guy, but several members of the WWE locker rooms have told me that they or others that they know really didn't enjoy working with Eva Marie. Eva Marie has recently been released from the WWE after her planned storyline and character simply failed to ignite in any way. A large part of the release was believed to be that she simply didn't seem interested in staying, and when she was told that she was being released, she didn't seem to care all that much about it. Over the course of the last few weeks, though, I've been told repeatedly that Eva Marie's release was being considered by many to be a bit of a godsend. Members of the women's division that worked with her apparently didn't enjoy it. This was in a wrestling capacity, yes, but also Eva Marie was not known to enjoy being involved in production, planning, or calling spots, and a lot of wrestlers that worked with her felt that they had to carry her in every possible ways. There were also promo issues, work rate issues, and just a general lack of involvement. Eva Marie herself is believed to have been quite happy to leave the company. While I've been assured, reassured, and reassured again that everyone was professional, there were a number of complaints made about Eva Marie that convinced the company to drop her far sooner than they had intended. At this point in time, there is no interest whatsoever in seeing her return. This could also have been said the last time she was released, so that may be one of those that we do have to take with a little bit of salt. Connor says, Brian was right, we are fickle. We are. We can't sit here and say these fans are fickle or those fans are fickle. We all have our moments. We genuinely do. It's a large part of being a wrestling fan is almost militantly supporting your favourites. And when you do that, it's with a detriment to other people. We don't like hot potato titles, but we also want a revolving door of top talent. It's painful. Bailey says the pre-contracts you sound off sounds like what is known as a personal services agreement. I believe that's the phrase I was looking for, Bailey. Essentially, yes. I don't know all of the technical terms as regards it, but essentially, yeah, they are locking you down without letting you start work yet. Hector, welcome, says KO even said it himself. He did what's best for his family. Wrestling is so unpredictable. He secured his kids' and family financial future. Good on him. And can I just say, the reporter that leaked this, knowing that it was going to be formally announced in a podcast the next day, really pissed off Kevin Owens. Just really pissed off Kevin Owens by taking that announcement away from him. Gotta say it like it is. Gotta say it like it is on that one. Kevin Owens was just not too pleased that that happened. Thank you to everyone who has retweeted or quote tweeted my announcement tweet so far. I'm popping over there now to retweet Sean. You are up next, so I'll be retweeting your quote tweet. Thank you, everybody. This is a great way for me to continue advertising without being, to be blunt, obnoxious about it, because I can retweet what you are saying, try and put you guys over a little bit, and also, potentially beneficially, spread the word more from my account without making it seem like I'm just retweeting it again and again and again. This is really helpful, so I do very much appreciate it. Noob says, fans are indeed fickle, especially on social media. You are not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong. Thank you, Moxie, for the plugs there. We are currently live on both Twitch and YouTube. If you have not already subscribed on YouTube, please do pop over there, hit the subscribe button, and if you go to the channel and watch the video that we are hosting right now, you can click that like button. It makes a big difference to my growth as a creator, as a performer. We are currently sat at 777 subscribers. Lucky sevens, but I always like numbers that go up. We're in a very strong growth period at the moment. As long as we can keep that going, I will be a very, very happy Tom Colohue. Very happy indeed. Connor says, Tom, are you saying you're helping us by giving us the rub? Wink, wink. Guys, we're all wrestling fans here. And because we're all wrestling fans, I want to say, with all honesty, I'd rub any one of you. I'd give any one of you the rub until you went over the top. Until you were just the biggest you could possibly be, and until you were fully satisfied. I would give any of you the rub, and I want all of you to know that. Austin says, could we see Brock tonight? I do believe we can, and I do believe it likely. The expectation was that he wasn't going to be there last week. However, it looks like at least until day one, Brock Lesnar will be there week in and week out. Imagine that world. Brock Lesnar, full time. It's brief. He's just rounding out his dates for the last of the year, but it is going to be full time until day one. I'm sorry to hear that, FNAF. It would have been very nice to have you for the live show as well. Next up, we have a little update on 2K22. These are quite small updates before we get into the Sami Zayn details. More 2K22 news is coming in January, and the belief is that we will get a full, proper trailer for the game. I've been asked a number of times when we are going to receive an update from 2K Games about the upcoming WWE 2K22 game. I shared an update a few weeks ago as to the direction that the company would be taking the game in, and talked about roster updates, potential cover stars, and so on. I've reached out to 2K because of all the questions I've had, and what I've been told is relatively simple. They've told me to wait for January. There is apparently a big update coming in January. We've seen early screenshots being released already to let people know that progress is still ongoing, and 2K are preparing a formal trailer and beta as we speak. January will most likely just be the trailer, so don't be too excited. But now that the engine is much improved, a lot of the problems that they experienced in the previous games, those kinks have been ironed out, we can all look forward to getting a good idea of what the game is going to look like. As regards the cover star, 2K and WWE have apparently come to an agreement, but they are not ready to print up the cover just yet. I've been asking them a lot. They don't seem to want to tell me at this point, which I think is fair. Ghost, welcome. Says, oh wow, so just came into the stream and the first thing I hear is Tom giving all of us the rub. You know it, Ghost, you know it. If there's one thing you can rely on, it's Tom rubbing you. Moxie says, do you see Paul turning on Roman Reigns anytime soon? Yes, but probably March time. That's when I'm seeing it personally. Jay Quick says, welcome Jay Quick, and thank you very much for the host. WWE 2K, I want War Games. Well, if you want War Games, you might well get War Games in the next installment of 2K22. War Games. Justin says, I think we get a trailer during the Royal Rumble. That would be a good time for it, and I believe technically that is still in January. FNAF says, I think it could be Roman or Bobby or Drew. I do still think Sasha Banks is in the lead for it. And I would buy that game. I would buy that game. Some good news now. Triple H is doing much better and has been seen backstage at NXT, at Raw and at SmackDown a number of times over the past few weeks. So it's a brief update, and while this isn't much, it is worth hearing as far as I'm concerned. Immediately after returning from the hospital, he did spend some time at NXT to basically reassure everyone there that things were fine, to get the dirt sheets off his back as well. But now he's taken some time away and he's beginning to return. Triple H has been spending more time backstage at NXT recently as he slowly gets back up to speed with the evolution of NXT into NXT 2.0. He hasn't been involved much in any of the planning as he's taken something of a backseat for several weeks due to his health issues. Right now though, he's slowly getting back up to speed after what was a serious health scare that is not going to go away anytime soon. This is something he's going to have to live with, and that means some lifestyle changes. We might not get as many midnight workouts, I tell you that. We're still at the point of wishing Triple H all the best in his recovery. So let's not leap to any particular assumptions, but we can afford to be happy that he's doing a lot better and he'll be back in the NXT driver's seat shortly. I'm very, very happy about this. Regulars here will know that Triple H is genuinely my favourite wrestler. I've met the man, I've interviewed the man, I've taken pictures with the man, and I'm very glad that basically I'm very glad when people don't die. Well done, Triple H. You keep fighting, and you stick around for us a little while longer so that we can get quality programming and so that your kids have a dad, yeah? It was a nervy moment. The full details aren't really out, and they're not going to be, but it was a nervy moment. Connor says, I want Bron Break on the cover. Maybe they'll do an NXT game. I feel they should just do an NXT game, like a proper underground NXT game. It would be fun. Justin says Roman Reigns should be the cover star. His name has been mentioned. I know he was on the cover last time, but nobody's had a better year than him. I really don't care who's on the cover though. I'll buy it regardless. My suspicion is that it will be two people. I think Sasha and Drew are the most likely pairing. FNAF said, glad that he's feeling better. Me too, man, me too. And Jay Quick says, can you be in the game saying War Games like that? Well, I am a Blackpool boy, much like William Regal. Or Stephen Regal. His name's Darren. Nothing prepares you, okay? Nothing prepares you for when William Regal approaches you, offers you his hand and says, hi, I'm Darren. I'm sorry, what? No. No, you are not. You are William. No. Nothing prepares you for that moment. I'm not Darren. Not acceptable. Anyway. Corey, I am retweeting your quote tweet. FNAF, I have noticed that your tweets and your quote tweets in particular, the only people who can reply are people that you follow. So please be aware of that. It will impact how much retweeting I can do on this. Thank you everyone for the retweets and the quote tweets. Very grateful for that. Connor says, no, Darren, you're Prince William the Regalness. He is. He is, and he should be. It is not fair. D. Freeman says, when NXT UK is going to start back having live takeover shows? Not yet. The UK is in a very difficult situation right now. And NXT UK at the moment, they have no intention of leaving the arena that they have. They have a very good deal. They're not willing to do takeovers until they are very secure that COVID is not rampant in the UK. Unfortunately, COVID is rampant in the UK. Can I just say, the word rampant is the word I used. That is an accurate word. I'm going to check how many cases we had today, because I feel it's important to really point out how bad things have gotten at the moment. Today in the UK, we've had reported 93,045 cases of COVID-19. That is, of course, not counting all of the active cases, for example, the 78,000 of previous days. 93,045 cases. Till that number comes down, NXT UK is staying indoors. Hector says, do you think Paul will ever do an interview maybe with Ariel Helwani to talk about everything that's went on, or is he more of the reserved type? Paul Heyman does not do interviews very often, but he's not reserved in any way, shape or form. I think very much that he's playing character and he will continue to do so. Thank you, FNAF. Sean says, I wonder who had COVID worse, the UK or the USA? The USA did. No question. Our politicians are bad. Your politician was terrible. Guy at the top literally just refused to do anything about it. Let's talk about Sami Zayn. We are here, we are there, we are everywhere. It is time to talk Sami Zayn. Jay Quick, thank you for the compliment in your tweet. I'll retweet that because it's time to talk about Sami Zayn. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. This is the longest piece of news, so please continue to ask your questions, comment, like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff, because it makes a massive difference. There is something when I'm watching my live setup for YouTube called chat rate, where essentially the chat rate of the stream, so the more often people chat, directly impacts how much advertising I get, and is one of the reasons that we had a show a couple of weeks ago, a Raw show, when Becky Lynch took on Liv Morgan, that reached 2,000 views. It was insane. It was absolutely insane, and is largely because of chat rate and so on and so forth. So please continue with any chatting that you would like to do. This isn't official yet, but this is a channel where we share exclusive backstage news that isn't available anywhere else. I don't have all the answers, never have and I never will, but I've still broken big news in the past, and I'm about to break some more. One piece of big news I broke this week was 7 days ago when I tweeted the following during last week's SmackDown. All signs point to Sami Zayn signing a new contract. Curiously, a full week after this, there are suddenly reports from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter stating that Sami Zayn might have signed a new contract. What are his sources? Well, it sure sounds like the source is me. The news is out there. I just hope people start listening. So hi everyone. My name is Tom Colohue and I'm a freelance professional wrestling journalist working on YouTube, Twitch and PW Torch. I break wrestling news during my spoiler warning live shows and also host live reaction videos stacked with exclusive news not available elsewhere, so be sure to like the video and subscribe to know first what's going to happen. Let's talk about Sami Zayn. I've been told that Sami Zayn's signing of a new contract is practically a formality at this point. That's what I heard last week, and that's what you're going to hear more of in the next few days, I guarantee it. Kevin Owens signed his new contract first, and at the same time, Sami Zayn's contract negotiations were also going well enough. Zayn and Owens have been promised much the same in terms of push, but very different things in terms of money because, to put it plainly, the WWE do not believe that Sami Zayn is worth as much to them as Kevin Owens is. I don't think you're actually going to find many people who disagree with that, unfortunately for Sami. What Sami has been promised in terms of push is actually very similar to what Shinsuke Nakamura had been offered roughly a year ago. The money came back. He's been involved in bigger programs. He's been promised a program with Roman Reigns, the top star in the company, and this has already started to play out. He's also gotten something even bigger, though this is technically debatable. He's working with Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns' return to SmackDown will be going straight through Sami Zayn. Now, how will this change Sami Zayn himself? To be fair, not all that much. The documentary that had been planned for Sami Zayn's whole conspiracy angle has been shelved, but has not been deleted. The hope was that it would be brought back into play, however that is yet to happen. It looks like the highest that Sami Zayn can go at the moment is to the Intercontinental Championship level, but with Baron Corbin the number one contender but not actually being featured at all in that division, Sami Zayn could well slide in, take the championship and run with it, and Sami Zayn as an Intercontinental Champion has been very effective. That said, the plan for the push is not a championship. Certainly not the top championship, but it is heavy feature and a few more wins than he's had previous. Hopefully by the time I have a video ready on YouTube, I'll have further updates on this. But the most important thing that I want you to focus on is that there is a contract. Hasn't been signed yet, but the WWE have every expectation that Sami Zayn will still be with the company years from now. Hector says, Tom, sorry, I meant Paul Levesque, aka Triple H. Triple H is not someone who would like to do that. However, he does sit down with media quite often. He goes off his notes. He gets given certain lines to hit. But he doesn't have much interest in being managerial. He doesn't have much interest in facing the media. He just wants to wrestle. Where he is now keeps him close to the action and means that in future he may be able to get back to wrestling. That's all he really cares about. It really is all he's looking for, all he really wants to do. It's all he's focused on. The user says, do you see any main roster stars not renewing their contracts in the year? Yes, I do. However, they are unlikely to be particularly big names. I think the next person to run down their contract, however, will be Bobby Lashley. There'll be others, such as, for example, Apollo Crews. I don't think necessarily he'll be sticking around too much longer. What's his name? 24/7. Not R-Truth, the other one who's always there. Akira Tozawa. I don't see him renewing either. I see him moving on. But there'll be a number of others that I don't necessarily think will be still there this time next year. Bobby Lashley, I think, will be the next big name to run down his contract. Moxie says, Tom, what do you think was the biggest WrestleMania ever? Well, the most recent ones are big, I'll tell you that. I think 35 was the biggest personally. The women's triple threat, Kofi Mania, Seth versus Brock, 3 massive babyface wins, hell of a WrestleMania, and every year they do seem to get bigger. I like that we have such a variety of names. Reggie, Dana Brooke. Yeah, I was thinking Akira Tozawa. Sean says, is it possible that Adam Cole's surprise will be Johnny Gargano? It's not impossible. It's not impossible. There's a number of options. And Noob says, hopefully Asuka will re-sign her contract. Well, I don't think it's up just yet, but she may not. There's not much more they're going to do with her in WWE, I guarantee you that. Okay, so I was wrong about that being the biggest piece of news because I've just looked at this one and it's quite long. So next up, we're going to be talking Hollywood. Because Hollywood is calling for several big-name WWE stars, and it is only a matter of time before they accept the charges. The WWE are preparing to lose a number of their brightest stars to the bright lights of Hollywood over the next few years, and they're not particularly happy about it. Unfortunately for them, and in many ways fortunately for us, they really have no control over it. Having just released the vast majority of their quote-unquote unwanted performers, the WWE is left with something of a skeleton crew of core talent that they believe will be able to see them through the next few years until NXT talent are ready to step into the breach and pad out the numbers. Bron Breakker naturally is the most prominent name in that list. What they can't afford to do is lose too many more people. And this is one of the fundamental reasons that they've been throwing some big money offers at Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They've laid out the plan for the future of the company, and it supposedly involves and includes everybody left in the company. Sadly, the risk factor is increasing. The WWE are aware of interest from outside parties, not necessarily wrestling companies, in several of their key players. The most notable figure is Roman Reigns. Roman has received a lot of pitches from upcoming movie casting departments. Over the last few years, he's been extremely in demand. His connection to The Rock has resulted in a high level of automatic interest from companies that want to get in ahead of who they believe will be the next big thing. Roman has a lot to offer, as we know, and the WWE are interested in permitting some brief shoots here and there that will elevate the company. The Miz is another name, receiving offers, but at this point it's a given that The Miz will be working on TV, accepting reality TV and hosting gigs going forwards. The WWE are actively advertising him. It's generally accepted amongst WWE management that The Miz will be working a dual schedule, essentially until the day that he retires, and that is one of the reasons he hasn't been getting the big storylines for a while. Now, of course, he's working with Edge. The idea is not so much Edge giving the rub to The Miz, but The Miz giving the rub to Edge, given where they are in their careers at this point in time. It's essentially old versus new to encourage nostalgia viewers and modern reality viewers to get together and join the company. The biggest concerns are in the women's divisions, because there are two names that the WWE are very nervous about losing. Sasha Banks is an obvious option for the next breakout Hollywood star. She's already halfway there, and should COVID have actually wrapped up when the politicians told us that it would, Banks would likely already be gone. This is the WWE's biggest area of concern. Sasha Banks has made it clear that she intends to field and accept offers, and offers are coming. It's just that thus far, nothing has come up that was appealing enough to turn her head. Sorry guys, I've got a bit dry. The last name of those that are scaring the WWE? Alexa Bliss. While there haven't been all that many offers from Hollywood for Bliss, the WWE are fully aware that Bliss has a quite intense talent for accruing popularity. Bowling for Soup, horror movies, the Uncool podcast, gymnastics, professional bodybuilding. Bliss knows how to draw attention. While Roman, Banks and The Miz would all dip in and out of the movies without fully leaving the WWE, I wouldn't be so sure about Alexa Bliss. The next big breakout star isn't a given in the WWE. Bobby Lashley leaving to return to the UFC is always a possibility after all. The main worry right now amongst management is that now that we have a much smaller talent pool, the WWE know that there is a lot of interest in some of their biggest names. It's something that needs to happen in order to get their big names over. It's good for the company if they leave, make a film, and then come back. Long term though, management names such as Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon are still very aware of those awkward moments in their history in which they lost Steve Austin, The Rock, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar all at very similar times. It is a nervous time right now to be in WWE management. Let's catch up. Hey King of Pro, how you doing? Sean says, any woman you see not being with WWE this time next year? Dana Brooke. Quite a few of the current NXT class. Quite a few. KJ says, I've seen the WWE Recruit IG page post some videos of the trainees training, and Thatcher was leading the class. Thatcher is still employed by the company. He's essentially adding a bit more to his resume to encourage them to keep him. It's good, and it's nice. The user says, Tom, realistically, how long do you see Roman staying in the WWE? Realistically, I believe he will stay for roughly 4 years. My opinion. Larry Welcome says, hello, have I missed much? We've covered quite a lot. We've spoken about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, their new contracts. We've spoken about complaints against Eva Marie. Let's actually read the headlines back. Let's read the headlines back just so everybody knows. Yeah, we talked about when we're going to get more 2K22 news and what that is. Triple H returning to action. We've just wrapped up. Hollywood is calling for several WWE top names. So you missed quite a bit, Larry, but it's okay. You can always go back and check it at some later point. Sean says, I wonder what happened to Uncle with Alexa. Time constraints, mainly. The WWE does this. They launch things, and if it doesn't immediately succeed beyond their wildest expectations, they shut it down. It will be coming back. It's just that there is a little difficulty when it comes to booking guests, because they hired someone to help her book, and then they fired them. Connor says, you've seen the new Roman Reigns shirt that has been released? Yes, I did. The needle mover. I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Maybe I should get a shirt like that. After all, I do have merch now. I haven't created any merch yet. I need a design to be made. But I do have the possibility of merch now, which could be a nice little earner for me if people are interested in wearing a spoiler warning t-shirt. And if you go into a wrestling show and you wear a spoiler warning t-shirt, Don Colohue can be very happy. Noob says, looks like Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss are going to Hollywood. Possibly, yes. Bailey says, Becky Lynch had acting credits before WWE and I see her leaving at least partially as well. My expectation with Becky Lynch is that she will get offers, she will take offers, and she will return to the company pretty much immediately. Small, brief roles is what Becky seems to prefer because wrestling is very much her first love. No worries, FNAF, welcome back. And Justin says, I've always said Alexa would make a great actress in movies. Sasha did really good in her Star Wars gig as well. Wrestlers becoming actors is a tale as old as time because wrestlers already are actors. You're an actor, you're a gymnast, and you're basically a stuntman, all in one when you're a wrestler. You have to be able to act. Have to. Noob says, have you seen Charlotte Flair going to Hollywood? I've not heard much about offers made to Charlotte Flair. I'll say that. I need to talk about Bray Wyatt, or Wyndham Rotunda as he is now, because people are getting so excited over nothing. Let's jump into it. Bray Wyatt has not signed a contract with All Elite Wrestling, despite how many fans and obsessives are repeatedly coming up with random ideas about when he might turn up. Whenever there is a special event, there is a wall of social media stating that Bray Wyatt's turning up. Wyndham Rotunda is going to be there. Husky Harris is a lock to roll into town and take over. Fun fact, he isn't. He isn't. Wyndham Rotunda has not yet signed a contract with any wrestling company. Instead, he is seriously considering not returning to wrestling at all. His focus right now is on the scripting for horror movies. He isn't going to be wrestling anytime soon. There have been a number of brief and unproductive discussions with some of the bigger wrestling companies such as Impact, MLW and All Elite Wrestling. Ring of Honor also reached out to get a quote for some special appearances, and that's apparently been the most productive of all the discussions involved. That said, we're yet to see any contract actually signed. The reason for this is quite simple. While Rotunda's financial demands are considered respectable, he is out for a level of creative control that is simply not on offer from any wrestling company. He is not just protective of his character, he wants the funding and choice to do basically whatever he wants to do. That is not a contract that is going to be offered. Since leaving the WWE and even while with the company, Wyatt's overall experience has led to him favouring an all or nothing approach. Either he will display his character in all its glory, as originally intended, or he'll step away entirely and he will definitely not sign the contract you're offering. Do not expect Wyndham Rotunda to just turn up one day. Things need to be agreed to, and all of the pieces need to be perfectly in place first. And the biggest blockade right now to the return of Wyndham Rotunda is Wyndham Rotunda. Thought I'd share that one. Before we continue, I would just like to ask for a little support, if possible, guys. We are currently sat at 8 likes on the YouTube video. 8 likes. That is 2 away from 10. Just 2. If there are 2 people in the Twitch chat who would be able to pop over and just click that like button, I would be very grateful, because it would mean we go up to double figures, and double figures makes a huge difference. So if you're able to pop over there and just click that like button, I would be very, very grateful. It helps us grow, it helps us find new potential viewers, new potential subscribers, and eventually will put money in my pocket. Just clicking that thumbs up can literally help put money in my pocket. So if you're on Twitch and you are not on YouTube, please do pop over, hit that like button. I'd be very, very appreciative and very, very grateful. Sean says, I think Becky said she wanted to be in a Marvel movie. Yeah, she does. I'm not aware of the offer being made as of yet, but there will be offers being made to her, I'm sure. Those moments will come, but we don't know whether she's not one that they're worried about losing, is what I'm saying as regards that. Justin said, I was always shocked Orton got nothing from Hollywood. I believe he did. He just wasn't particularly interested in it. We've just gotten 5 likes to take us up to 13. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate that. I'll add that to the repertoire. Very grateful. As I say, that is a massive help in our growth and our advertising, so thank you very much for that. Makes a big difference. Connor says, I want to see a film where Seth Rollins is the evil villain. His laugh is perfect for it. Once WWE production, well, studios I should say, goes back into production, there may be something on that. Omega, welcome, mate. Great to see you. KJ says if Cesaro had charisma, he'd be in Hollywood. Has a perfect hitman look, or that guy in Hobbs and Shaw. Can't remember. Jason Statham? I think Jason Statham. Not Rock, but the other guy. The bunch of movie stars that looks like Cesaro. There are a lot of them. Vin Diesel? Noob says Wyndham is definitely has a major focus on Hollywood. He does, he very much does, and so he should at the moment. He can make a name for himself beyond wrestling. Why would he come back to wrestling? It's not exactly treated him wonderfully over the years. Bailey says, you know Sasha is getting studio attention when she appeared at the Spider-Man premiere, having nothing to do with the film. Breakout star. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're going to get. A breakout star. And Sasha Banks has everything needed to become that. Everything needed. That's how you get the attention. That's what you get. Larry says, I don't blame him. Wrestling must be a bloody awful job for most of the time. If he can make money without risking injury, good luck to him. Absolutely, and that's exactly how it should be. Exactly how it should be. If you can make that happen, do it. Thank you, KJ. Appreciate that. BFG Podcast, welcome. Says the company most likely to give him what he desires probably would be All Elite Wrestling. I would imagine if we have any chance of seeing him return to wrestling. I personally disagree on that. I think the most likely company would be Impact, because Wyndham is looking for a certain element of creative control that All Elite Wrestling's Tony Khan has pointed out recently they are not offering. I believe there was a reason he pointed that out. If you're a regular here on these channels, you'll know that I've been talking about this request for creative control for a long time now, because that's what Bray Wyatt, well, Wyndham Rotunda has been looking for a long time, and it's not currently on offer. Sean says, WWE just announced Cesaro versus Ridge for SmackDown. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Larry says, you're welcome. Thank you kindly. KJ says, no problem. Thank you very much, guys. And Omega says, yes, Statham. I thought so. BFG says, meaning Wyndham Rotunda. Understood that, but thank you for clarifying. I'm going through quite a lot of chat, and it can be very helpful just to clarify on that. I definitely think Impact would be the one, but if he changes his mind at all, then I think All Elite Wrestling will be all over him. FNAF says, do you see Roman and The Rock appearing in more films together? I do. I believe Roman wants to do sort of a ceremonial passing of the torch. I believe that is likely. Kuro says, Randy Orton's Hollywood problem stems from the Marine Free issue and it's never really recovered since. I don't know enough about that to really speculate on it. Edward Brooks, welcome. Says, do you think Bayley would ever do any acting or TV? Sal Volcano invited her to be on Practical Jokers on her IG live stream last week. I think she would, however the company would have to sign off on it, and right now, for what it's worth, the WWE are intentionally keeping Bayley off TV as much as possible. As much as possible. And I don't feel there is any better example of what I'm talking about where likes increase viewership than the fact that we're suddenly seeing a few extra names on the YouTube side. Thank you everyone who hit like. Noob says, I would like to see Asuka being a voice in an anime. I mean take a look at one of her YouTube videos where she's impersonating anime characters. Maybe that moment will come, but she needs to get back in action first, because ultimately, by the sounds of it, people just aren't really trying with Asuka. And Connor says, I'd also agree with it being Impact. Impact are also doing more supernatural stuff, where Tony Khan has said he regrets letting Matt Hardy do it when he first came in. Matt Hardy was singing Bray Wyatt's praises, and I believe this is one of the reasons we're seeing Matt Hardy's character change. I mean, I don't believe, I know. Hector says, Tom, did you watch the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view? The way it ended makes me feel like the last nail in the coffin is yet to be hammered in. Have you heard of anything going forward or no? The company is not gone. The company is not dead. There is no coffin in place. However, they are not having contracts anymore. They intend to continue basically with the exact same people doing the exact same thing. They're just going to pay them less. That's the deal on offer. Yeah, you can keep working for us, you're just not going to get paid as much. We're going to briefly run down the day one card. I'm going to be recording a proper preview soon, but I'm just going to talk now about the card that we have and asking you guys whether you're excited for it. So the main event is planned to be Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Brock Lesnar. We're going to see a fatal four-way. Big E defending the WWE Championship against Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley. The SmackDown Tag Team Championships are up for grabs. The Usos defending against The New Day. RK Bro are believed to be defending against either the Street Profits or Rey and Dominic Mysterio, when the Street Profits or Rey and Dominic Mysterio return from injury. When they return from injury. And then we will have Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's Championship against Liv Morgan, and Charlotte Flair defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Toni Storm. There is still very much a plan for Toni Storm to be challenging Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Ooh, pardon me. BFG podcast says, apart from Johnny and Kyle, do you see the next big name jumping from WWE to AEW being Bobby Lashley? I don't personally, though I do see Bobby Lashley winding up his contract. I very much believe that Bobby Lashley will probably return to UFC. He returned to WWE primarily to get a match with Brock Lesnar. He's been promised a match with Brock Lesnar for about 5 years now. He still hasn't had a match with Brock Lesnar. He's not going to stick around. And who do you see being the first big name to go the other way? Probably Chris Jericho. Jericho will go back. Jericho will go back at some point. I think there's a few people who will be looking at going back shortly. An offer is on the table at the minute for a renewed contract for Pac. But if he becomes actually available, the WWE would try very hard to get him back. Just as an example. Larry Bongo says, we need strong trade unions back, up the workers, down with the bosses, and sod the middle classes. As a trade unionist myself, I agree. Connor said defo injury. It's definitely injury. Definitely injury. If you didn't watch the live watch along of Raw, you won't know the exclusive news that was reported there. Definitely an injury. Justin says, does Alexa or Sasha possibly leaving for Hollywood, or at least WWE, being concerned about it mean they won't be in as many prominent roles, or will they be in more prominent roles? A bit of both. They're going to try and keep them, essentially, but they can always have them lose the championship pretty quickly if they have it. Alexa, I believe, will be in more prominent roles than she has been in years past when she returns. She is currently the backup to face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, if Bayley isn't fit enough at the time. Not a bad place to be fair. Yes, noob, thank you. I mean, Bellator, that is where he is from. Kuro says the real question is who's going to be sober enough to remember day one is on? Not me. Not me. Ooh, Lance says Bobby is 45, his MMA clock is just about up. I personally don't see it happening. This is one of the reasons I can see him going back basically the end of this contract. He's got maybe about a year left, at which point I can see him at least going, but I don't know how long it'll last when doing it. He does miss it, but that's just personally my opinion on it. But I appreciate your opinion as well, Lance. Thank you for jumping in with it. FNAF says, where do you think MJF will end up in 2024? AEW. They will break the bank for the guy. BFG podcast says, if not Bobby, who do you see being the next one to jump to AEW from WWE? I'm not sure. Really not sure. There's a lot of people who could make the jump, but I don't think it'll be anyone at this point that the WWE will miss. Rob's welcome mate says, justice for Sami. Justice may be coming. Jay Quick says, I might watch day one, but I won't be sober. And Wolf Gamer says, day what? We don't even remember now. We don't even remember now. What have I got left to cover? A SmackDown preview. That's the last thing to mention. Now, it's been mentioned in this here chat. I haven't checked it myself, but it's been mentioned in the chat, so I trust you. That the WWE have announced that we will have Cesaro versus Ridge Holland again this week on SmackDown. This can go one of two ways. Either Ridge Holland defeats Cesaro and we all move on with our lives, or, more likely, Cesaro wins by DQ when he's attacked by Sheamus, Drew McIntyre gets involved, and then we have a good old-fashioned tag team match with Drew McIntyre and Cesaro versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland. I feel that is more likely than not in this regard. Outside of that, Roman Reigns will be returning, and he will be having words with Sami Zayn because Sami Zayn will not be letting him go. In the meantime, we are expecting Brock Lesnar to feature this week. We weren't expecting him to feature last week. He did feature. I was asking questions. I didn't get a straight answer on it. But he is expected to feature this week with Paul Heyman being involved in the good old-fashioned tug-of-war as we continue for it. There will be more build between Charlotte Flair and Toni Storm. Charlotte Flair destroyed Toni Storm last week. Just absolutely destroyed her. Completely. But Charlotte Flair and Toni Storm will continue to work together as we build to day one. This week, Toni Storm will be chasing another opportunity and another chance to get up to Charlotte Flair one-on-one at day one. My hope is that Toni Storm gets to wrestle someone tonight, maybe a Carmella, maybe just someone to earn the right to get involved. Personally, I'd go with Gauntlet, but they've got to do something. They've absolutely got to do something because so far it's just not good enough. Meanwhile, Sasha Banks is sort of hovering around backstage, just waiting for something interesting to happen and doing nobody any favours by doing that. I want to see Sasha Banks wrestling this week. What I would like to see, said it last week, but I'll say it again, I'd like to see Naomi, Xia Li, Sasha Banks versus Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Main reason I want to see that, I just want to see Sonya Deville wrestle. That storyline will continue. Xia Li is expected to feature in a big way going forwards. Logically, the most likely scenario tonight is Naomi and Xia Li taking on Shayna Baszler and Natalya, with Natalya taking the pin from Xia Li. Like, I know it sucks, but it is what it is. Jimmy and Jey Uso will continue their feud with the New Day. We are likely to have one of the New Day versus one of the Usos all over again as they essentially kill time moving into this one. It's taking forever, but we're going to get there. Meanwhile, Nakamura and Rick Boogs conclusively put down Los Lotharios last week. Shinsuke Nakamura involved very, very briefly. He's been apparently working slightly injured. This would be a good time to see Baron Corbin and Riddick Moss get back involved, but they did steal a sword from Drew McIntyre, so he may be chasing them down. Where Drew McIntyre goes, I'm not sure. I'd like to see him involved in both things, to be entirely honest. I'd just like to see him as involved as possible, because you can straddle both and get involved in both. Now's the time to do it. Okay, that's actually everything that I had to cover. That's not very much, is it? That's not very much. Connor says, I will be sober as I don't drink. Well, also, you live in a cupboard, mate. You live in a cupboard. Bailey says, what becomes of Elias in 2022? Either they come up with something good for him or he leaves. It's really that simple. Sean says, Alexa said last December on a show that's hosted by Maria Menounos that she has 3 years left on her current contract with WWE. Could you see her leaving at the 3 years or before that? I cannot. I think Alexa Bliss will sign a new contract fairly soon because I think she's a WWE lifer. Rob says, Kevin and Sami should consider a Christmas donation to a certain orphanage in Mexico. Also potential tax write-off. I've been thinking tax write-offs. I'm going to be buying a graphics card for my PC. I'm very, very excited. Very excited. But I do believe Kevin and Sami need to avoid that orphanage at all costs because of the blood feud going on between Kevin Owens and El Generico. I don't know why I've mentioned Sami Zayn now. I don't know how he's involved in this. But obviously there is a blood feud between Kevin Owens and El Generico. And Owens should probably stay way clear of it. Way clear of it. BFG Podcast says, here's an interesting opinion that I have. I think the next one to jump over from WWE will be Goldberg so that they can capitalise on their Turner Network nostalgia like they did with Sting. That's not a bad shout. I can see where you're coming from, BFG Podcast. That would not make me tune in any way, shape or form. But it certainly would make some people tune in. KJ says, with Hardy gone, who faces Roman at the Rumble? Do they pull out Drew? I don't believe they pull out Drew. I probably wouldn't pull out Drew. You've got to be careful pulling certain things out. And pulling out Drew is a risk. You know? You're taking a lot of risk when you're pulling out Drew. Personally, I would go with someone a little bit further down the card. I'd go Shinsuke. Personally, I'd go Shinsuke. That's what I would do. So, I can only sit from my particular angle. There are no more questions coming in. No, there are. There are. I'm wrong. Lance says, has WWE just totally forgotten that Nakamura is the IC champion? Pretty much, yes. Pretty much, yeah. It's a shame, isn't it? Bailey says, a certain masked wrestler has not something to do with this conspiracy against Sami. Does he? I don't believe they ever really encountered each other. Sean says, Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns tonight. Is it? Has that been announced? I've not seen it. And Sean says, Roman versus Ricochet for the Rumble. Wouldn't mind it. Don't see it. Wouldn't mind it, though. He's not got any plans. You might as well give him someone new and different. And KJ says, Goldberg staying with WWE for Saudi money. The WWE are not planning to renew his contract. Especially they've still got The Undertaker, technically. They've got people for Saudi. People are still turning up. And now we are out of questions. We have 16 likes on YouTube. That's fantastic. Sean says, Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you very much, Sean. That's a wonderful thing to say. I've been Tom Colohue. I'm going to wrap up. We will be live later tonight for SmackDown. We'll be doing a live watch party. So please tune in there. Larry says, stop pulling random wrestlers. We'll not move out making a few quid out of it. Just be careful who you're pulling up. I hope to see you all for SmackDown later tonight. In the meantime, thank you everyone for tuning in on Twitch and on YouTube. Every like, every follow, every subscribe makes a massive difference. And I hope to see you all very, very soon. Have a great night if I don't see you. And if I do, I'll see you soon.